You see these two corrupt cops featured in this video? These individuals cost the city of Chicago taxpayers millions of dollars, just two individuals. And at no point has city council said, well, what can we do to hold these individuals accountable and any other individuals that were involved in these wrongful convictions? What can we do to hold them accountable? Because the Chicago police are in charge of doing the investigation. They then turn it over to prosecutors. So the city of Chicago has got to say, where did things go wrong? How can you have so many wrongful convictions tied to just two corrupt cops that cost taxpayers millions of dollars? Where is the accountability? And when you listen to this news clip about Ronald Watts, corrupt cop Ronald Watts, the time he did in prison, make sure you listen very carefully for what he was indicted for and convicted of. So don't get it twisted. All right, take a listen and let me know what you think in the comment section.
The city of Chicago today announced a $90 million proposed settlement to resolve almost 200 lawsuits tied to Ronald Watts. He's a former police sergeant who ran a corrupt public housing unit and went to federal prison for shaking down an FBI informant. WBEZ's Chip Mitchell has been reporting about the Watts scandal for a decade. And Chip, first tell us about this proposed settlement.
Melba, the city has already spent about $36 million to settle 9 lawsuits tied to Watts. The $90 million announced today would resolve another 176 cases. City Corporation Counsel Mary Richardson Lowry announced the deal today.
This is a legacy case of magnitude unlike anything I had previously seen. It is the largest number we've had and remains the largest number associated with a particular police officer. When solved for, this case will represent 64% of all reverse conviction cases within our portfolio.
So think about that, Melba. The city gets sued all the time. The Corporation Counsel here is saying this proposed Watts settlement would clear away almost 2/3 of the city's pending cases.
And what would each of the plaintiffs get under this proposal?
Well, the payouts would range from $150,000 to more than $3 million. That would be for a man who spent a decade in prison on a Watts case. The plaintiffs collectively, Melba, have spent more than 180 years in jail and prison. Now, the proposed settlement doesn't include a city apology or any admission of wrongdoing, but the plaintiffs have long maintained they were wrongfully convicted of drug felonies based on bogus evidence. All their convictions have been vacated, and many of these exonerees have been granted certificates of innocence.
And Chip, if you don't mind, for the listeners who may not be familiar with the scandal, tell us about Sergeant Watts and the unit that he led.
Well, this unit worked at the former Ida B. Wells public housing complex. There had long been allegations that Watts and his team were extorting money from drug dealers, falsely arresting people who would not cooperate. Then came 8 years of investigations into the corruption. It involved agencies ranging from the FBI to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Watts and an officer he supervised were finally caught in 2011. It was a sting. They stole $5,000 from a homeless person who had convinced the sergeant he was a drug dealer. Rather, he was a courier, that he was going to bring the money somewhere. It turns out he was a federal informant. Watts and his underling were arrested and later pleaded guilty to federal corruption charges. Melba, the first exoneree was Wells resident Ben Baker. He'd languished in prison for nearly a decade before a Cook County judge threw out 2 convictions tied to Watts in 2016. And after that, the exonerations were like dominoes. I kept track. Judges vacated at least 234 Watts-tied felony convictions. That's 190 people, 190 exonerees.
It's an incredible number. And that $90 million settlement, it still requires approval from the Chicago City Council. What's next?
Yeah, well, police settlements have historically sparked bitter debate between the council's conservative and progressive members. The vote is scheduled for September 25th. Our colleague Mariah Wrongful spoke with several of the conservatives today. A few said they'd support the proposed $90 million to settle these Watts cases.
Item number 5D is an order authorizing the Corporation Council to enter into and execute a settlement order in the case of Henry, former Sergeant Ronald Watts in the Northern District of Illinois in the amount of $90 million. I move passage of this item by the same motion as applied to item number 5B.
Chair recognizes Alderman Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to speak on this item, and I wanted to thank the chairwoman for finance for allowing for hearings to take place on some of these cases that are coming before the body. I want to applaud Corporation Counsel for her team putting forward a strategy, minimizing the risk and exposure to the city of Chicago. I think that this is a huge win for the city. And I wanted to make sure that I gave the Corporation Counsel and her team the respect and acknowledge the hard work that her team did. And also thank the chairwoman for, again, bringing attention to this matter. We still have a lot of outstanding cases, but I think that this move right here and this vote to clear over 100 cases at the price of $90 million is a deal for the city. And again, I wanted to publicly say and publicly thank both the chairwoman of finance as well as the Corporation Counsel for their hard work.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Alderman Sposato.
Mr. President, it's exactly what I wanted to say, so I don't have to say anything other than ditto. Corp Counsel, you guys did an awesome job. Victoria, thanks for coming back. This is awesome for the city. I know people may be listening thinking 90 million, but this is a deal of the century. So great job, Corp Counsel, and everybody else involved with this. Thank you, Mr.
Very well, thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the City Council. I too rise in support of this item and wish to applaud your administration and indeed your Corporation Counsel and her team for their efforts to put this ugly chapter behind us in a way that is both respectful to victims but also more, just as equally important, respectful to the taxpayers of the city of Chicago. As I said during committee, it's rumored that I'm oftentimes at odds with the law department, but in this time I'm in full agreement. And I believe that in having more of these types of continuing conversations with members of our respective committees and concerned members, this should be the model of how we move forward through the remainder of this administration, so that we're able to do common sense things that help people as well as the municipal corporation. So I am happy to stand in strong support of this, and hopefully we can continue to work towards some of those other items that we've talked about in finance as well, addressing the recurring departmental challenges that we see where other lawyers are circling like vultures waiting for us to have missteps. So again, applaud you on this and look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thursday, September 25th, 4:45 p.m. I just have to write that down, that's all. I want to thank Corporation. Hey man, maybe these late meetings help us out a little bit. We'll be all right. But 446 now, man. We're chronological. But again, I think that this has been a tremendous battle that Corporation Counsel has saved the city from. We're glad to see that they're using some innovative tactics in dealing with these lawsuits, and hopefully we use this as some methodology moving forward on trying to settle these large outstanding lawsuits. While this closes a nasty and ugly chapter that many young men on the South Side endured, we know we need to settle these things, and we appreciate the work and the actual dollars that you saved us. And as Alderman Spazzato stated, this is, for us, very good management. We appreciate the work that you and your team are doing. We continue to bring that innovation as we talked in budget about how we can save money by attacking these things and bring the personnel in to do this. So continue the good work, positive work. Thank you, Corporation Counsel.
Very well. Thank you very much. Seeing no other hands, there's a motion on the floor. Passes to item 5D. The most favorable roll call in the Finance Committee and the associated unsuccessful motion to reconsider. Hearing no other objection, seeing no other hands, so ordered. Chair recognizes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to just acknowledge publicly the great work that was done by Corp Counsel and Victoria Benson in moving us forward. This is really very positive, and I know you have a lot more on your plate and you're thinking ahead, and so thank you so much.
I wanted to talk about a story that we aired last week about former disgraced Chicago police detective Reynaldo Guevara and the amount of taxpayer money that has been used to settle some of these lawsuits. So far, the city has spent $159 million in defending and settling these lawsuits, and there are 13 lawsuits in total so far. Last week, City Council approved $29 million in settlement payments for wrongful conviction lawsuits related to Guevara. The cases are tied to 4 men who say they were framed for murders they did not commit and then sent to prison for a combined 71 years. The city has settled 9 other lawsuits involving Guevara. And records show he's collected more than $1.6 million in pension payments. He's 81 years old. He lives in Texas. He's never been charged with a crime, nor was he ever disciplined by CPD. WGN Investigates Lourdes Sorarte did a huge story on this. I'll make sure to link it in our comments below.
Item number 8C is an order authorizing the Corporation Counsel to enter into and execute a settlement order in the case of William Negron versus Guevara, case number 18CV2701 in the amount of $800,000. I move passage of this item by the same motion.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 8D is an order authorizing the Corporation Counsel to enter into and execute a settlement order in the case of Ariel Gomez versus Guevara, case number 18CV3335 in the amount of $4,850,000. I move passage of this item by the same motion.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 8E is an order authorizing the Corporation Counsel to enter into and execute a settlement order in the case of Angel Diaz versus Guevara, case number 23CV02575 in the amount of $6,950,000. I move passage of this item by the same motion.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Item number 8F is an order authorizing the Corporation Counsel to enter into and execute settlement order in the case of Demetrius Johnson versus Guevara, case number 20-CV4156 in the amount of $16,600,000. I move passage of this item by the same motion.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.